Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Voices That Heal. This is your girl Jams. I am back again for the second episode for the night. I'm getting really good at this double duty. I got to tell you guys, I'm going to crash out as soon as I get, off air. But, I think overall I'm holding up pretty well for doing 2 episodes a night. So this evening on Voices That Heal, this is our standard podcast where I get to bring on advocate extraordinaires to talk through just their journey, their walk, and just the subject matter expert portion of their journey that they're on. And so I'm very, very excited because I met this kick-ass woman at the PAW conference in Arizona. I hadn't met her before until that day. And I was like listening to her tell her story. And I said, oh, this girl is so cool. I was like, I got to have her on the show. And so I made sure that I made that connection because I want to share her story because you guys need to see just how amazing the advocates are in this community. So those folks who are watching right now, we're live on YouTube. We're also live on Facebook. So if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or anything like that, please feel free to leave a comment on Facebook or on YouTube. Either one of them is going to show up on the screen here, and I'll be able to answer your questions or work them into the conversation. I want to make sure I shout out all the folks that make this possible, all the folks who listen and tune in on a regular basis, and everybody who helps bring folks to the show for me. I thank you guys so much for your help. It takes such a load off when you guys introduce me to potential guests for the show. So I want to make sure I dedicate as much of this time to my guest as possible. So I'm going to bring to the stage Miss Donnita Butler, who is amazing. And I am so excited that you were able to join me tonight. How are you doing?
Hey, Jamie, thanks. Thanks so much for that amazing introduction. I hope I can even come close to meeting your expectations.
Listen, your lived experience is cool enough. So go ahead and share with the audience a little bit of your story. Just, how you came to your lung cancer diagnosis, your military service, just anything that you feel you want to share with the audience tonight to help them get to know who you are as a person.
Okay, well, thank you. I have a few little notes here that I may refer to now and again just to keep myself on track so that I don't lose pieces, because some of these pieces are really important and I hate losing them after the fact. And I say, darn, I should have said that.
No worries.
So I am a veteran of 2 branches of the service. I was in the Air Force and I was in the Navy. When I was in the Air Force, I was a hydraulic mechanic on B-52s. I was stationed in Shreveport, Louisiana, actually Bossier City at Barksdale Air Force Base. And the B-52s that I worked on were built in the 50s and 60s. And this was in the about the early to mid 70s. One of the things that we did there was a lot, we worked on the hydraulics and the pneumatics and the brake systems. And there was asbestos all through the planes. And one of the things that we worked on were the brakes. We had to rebuild the brakes. And the brakes would be brought into the shop and they would be ground out. The pads would be ground out and the brakes would be rebuilt. And those were asbestos linings back then. So when you go into the shop would be filled with asbestos fibers in the air. And we didn't think anything of it back then. We're talking the 70s, right? It was a whole different world, whole different world. So back then we were focused on flight line safety, things like falling and ear protection and stuff like that. But we weren't thinking about those sort of things. So I had massive asbestos exposure while I was in the Air Force. Then I got out of the Air Force and I went to Florida State for a while. And then I went into the Navy. And when I'm in the Navy, I said to them, I don't want to be a hydraulic mechanic ever again. Hydraulics was a great experience for me because I learned things that gave me confidence in life that a girl from backwoods Maine would have never thought she could do, like changing a faucet in the sink and installing a ceiling fan, things that I took on later in life that I never would have done otherwise. But enough of that as a career. I didn't want to do it as a career. So then I went in the Navy as DP. They called it DP then, which was data processor. Data processor was later converted to IT. That was the more modern name for it. So when I was in the Navy, I was stationed at Navy headquarters, which was at the Navy Annex next to the Pentagon. And it was an old World War II building. And it was filled with asbestos. And we had support columns that were wrapped in asbestos with big rips with it spilling out. It was in the ceiling where they were doing the networking cables and stuff where the dust was coming down. It was in the tiles. They did asbestos mitigation of a section of it to put in a new computer floor, and they separated the work with just a sheet of plastic from us and the people that were doing the work. So that we weren't really protected from the asbestos. So yeah. So I had a smoking history too. So you take a smoking history and you take a asbestos exposure, and then you take a radon, where I grew up in a EPA red zone in Maine. You take those three things. I had the triple threat of risks for lung cancer. Boom. So how did I get my early diagnosis? Let's talk about how I got there. I made a habit of reviewing my Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance brochure when it would come out during open season. And I saw in there that I qualified. We have all these preventative exams we can have done. I saw in there that I qualified for low dose lung cancer screening for my smoking history. At this point in time, I hadn't put together all these other risk factors that I had. I just saw that I qualified for the preventative screening. So I went in to my doctor, who I didn't have a very good relationship with. He kind of was, he was misogynistic, I believe. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't accuse him of that, but I think he was. And every interaction with him was difficult. So I asked him for the low dose lung cancer screening, and he knew my smoking history. But he pushed back and he said, your insurance won't cover it. And so I pushed back on him and I said, I know it will. I saw it in my insurance brochure. So in that same office visit, I said, and how about my cholesterol? It's, 205, even on medication. And he was like, it's statistically insignificant. So I know. Wow. I mean, we're talking about, I'm a woman in her 60s at this point, and he's telling me that's statistically insignificant when I had a smoking history too. So he's pushing back on me on my cholesterol. He's pushing back on me on my request for a screening. And he wrote the order for the screening. Then I had that screening done. And it came back with nothing found. That was in 2018, which was really good news, right? Really good news. But as you can imagine from the type of interactions I had with him, I experienced tremendous anxiety anytime I had to go see him, right? I mean, it was not a pleasant thing. So I avoided him as much as I could. I just got my cholesterol prescription. And then COVID happened, and then grandbabies happened. And next thing I knew, 5 years went by and I hadn't had another screening. Now, let me just say, I understand that I'm responsible for taking care of myself, but it was a great disappointment that that doctor never brought up, hey, don't you think you should have another screening? That was never brought up.
Yeah.
And I let it slip. My bad. I let it slip. But I finally reached the point where I said, what are you doing? Why are you staying with this doctor that causes you so much anxiety that you avoid, right? What are you doing? And I had done it because I grew up in the backwoods of Maine with a little country doctor that did house calls, and I was used to a single doctor practice. And he was like one of the very few single doctor practices still left around. So that was why I stayed. That was the bottom line why I stayed. And then I said, you've got to grow up and leave and go find yourself proper medical care. You are in your late 60s now. You need to go get proper medical care. And so I went to one of those big practices with a Centera hospital system. And I waltzed in with my list of questions, and right at the top of the list was, I need a low dose lung cancer screening CT. And no problem, no pushback, no pushback.
Right.
And I said, and my cholesterol bothers me too. That it's and they went, oh, we're going to refer you to a cardiologist. Boom, no problem. Boom. It's like real medical care, right?
Right.
Not shaming and commanding me up on the scale, right? So he could lecture me about my food habits or whatever, right?
So I hope he's watching right now. Like,
Yeah, it's amazing with the difference. It was just like such an amazing. I was like, what was I waiting all these years for? I was waiting all those years for because I was stuck in my childhood. I was
Yeah.
stuck in my image of what my doctor was supposed to be.
Yep.
So that screening, the same day I got that screening, I got an urgent call from the doctor at the practice and said it's urgent. The nodule's been found. You need to get to a pulmonologist. So that's how I found out that I had lung cancer. That finding of the nodule in the CT scan caused me to go to a pulmonologist who sent me for a PET scan, which he said, yep, this looks like adenocarcinoma. I'm sending you to a thoracic surgeon. I don't want to biopsy it. I don't want to take a chance of it coming back with nothing found. I just want that out. And so he said, I hope the surgeon says the same thing. I went to the surgeon. The surgeon said, absolutely. What we'll do is take a bit out and run pathology on it while you're under. And if it comes back as cancer, then we will take the rest out. So that's how I went from a low-dose lung cancer screening to surgery in 47 days, which I was very fortunate to have that happen.
Yeah.
Very fortunate. But what came out of all of that? One of the big things that came out of that for me was lung cancer screening is supposed to be a shared decision making. That's like a medical kind of term, a shared decision making thing where you and the doctor talk about the risks and what pros and cons of whether to do it or not. And then you share in the decision of it. It's supposed to be a whole process. That whole process never happened with me. That whole process was always me bringing it to them. And the first time around getting pushback, and the second time around, boom. But there was never any discussion of the shared decision making or any talk about what that meant. So anyway, the good news is a low dose lung cancer screening. If you do them like you're supposed to do, you can get caught at stage 1 like me, right? And you can end up like me and have curative surgery and not have to have any other treatment. I didn't have to have chemo. I didn't have to have radiation. I didn't have to have any other treatments other than surgery. Now, that doesn't mean that one day it might not come back. One day it may come back, but I'm going to continue to be under surveillance. And so hopefully it'll get caught early, just like it did this time.
Awesome. So you just said like 1,012 things, and I have questions, so many questions that I was writing down as you were talking. I was like, oh, okay. So I'm going to take you back.
I hope I didn't go too fast.
No, you didn't. You did amazing. But I'm going to take you back to the beginning where you talked about, military experience and being in all of these areas with just asbestos. And you said they just put a plastic sheet up. Did they? I mean, obviously they knew that was there because they wouldn't have put the sheet up if they didn't know. But I mean, did they do any kind of testing on you guys after the fact, or say, hey, just so you know, we're going to run preventative, or like anything to say, like to follow up with you?
No, that was in the 80s. I mean, that was, that was in the 80s.
Yeah.
And they knew enough to put the sheet up, and they knew enough to have the workers that were contractors behind that sheet that had protective gear on. They had breathing gear and stuff on. But for some reason, they thought that sheet of plastic.
Wow.
I mean, it literally was. I mean, and when the workers would come in and out, they'd push the sheet of plastic aside, and they'd walk out, and then they would
just let all the asbestos out. Oh my gosh.
And because it wasn't presented as a dangerous environment. The hallways and stuff that you walk through, you'd walk right by it. It was right there. It was right outside our cubicles. It was just there.
That's insane.
Isn't
so
it?
I think, the fact that you went through that, you came out the other side, you know what I mean? Like, you are the reason I wanted you on the show, and the main reason, besides your kick-ass story, is the fact that you are like the quintessential person to talk about screening. Like, you are almost, I don't want to say success story, because the end result of your screening was not great, but this is the exact reason why we talk about the importance of getting screened. You know
what
I mean?
Like, we screen. Yeah.
Right. It's like, you had the smoking history. You definitely had the asbestos exposure. So you have that. And then you've got the radon. I mean, you, like you said, triple threat of exposure. You fought for yourself to get screened. and made sure that you got seen and that you were literally reading your insurance brochure. I can sit here right now and tell you I don't do that. And I don't know many other people who do. So
Well, it's the only way. That's
I know.
the thing. It's the only way I knew about it.
Yep.
It's the only way I knew that the screening even existed was by looking at that. Never heard about it anywhere else.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like we get these big, thick brochures in the mail when it's time for open enrollment and stuff. And most of us don't like read through that and page through it. You're just like, okay, I'm just going to pick the same insurance I had last year and roll it over to the next year. And nobody pays attention to that. So like, that was the main reason why I was like, I've got to get you on the show, because you are the shining example of why we tell you to screen early. Like you got involved, you took control of your healthcare. You were a very informed patient. You weren't in there like, okay, he says I don't need it. Oh, okay, he says it's, inconsequential. Like, no, you know what's wrong. You know what you need.
Yeah. I mean, I was bad that I stayed with him as long as I did, right? I mean, I shouldn't have stayed with him as long as I did, but that was my own personal anxiety. That was my own hangups that I had to work through myself, and then finally say, you can't continue to stay here and put up with this, what you're putting up with this man. Because you know what I was doing? I was actually going to an urgent care clinic for all my other medical needs, other than to get my prescription renewed for my cholesterol medicine. That was the only purpose I would go to him for, was to get because I had to have blood work done twice a year.
Right.
Every other medical need I had, I went to an urgent care clinic because I didn't want to see him.
Yeah. That's, and I feel like that's the story for a lot of folks who are, number one, just complacent in their healthcare, like they're not really engaging. They don't want to hear bad news. So if they can't get the news in the first place, they're like, okay, cool. Doctor says it's inconsequential. Doctor said I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like you bury your head in the sand a little bit, and you don't want to know the truth about it. But like, you really have to take control of your health and your health care, because if you don't, then nobody else is going to. And like you said, I love that you took like accountability for the fact that you went 5 years, but I mean, it's not all your fault.
It's not all my fault. It's not all my fault.
You should have definitely been reaching out, like, especially if you're a squeaky wheel, you know what I mean? He should have been like, let me call Donnita, because it's been a while since she's harassed me about some kind of screening. Let me just call her, make sure she's okay. As a doctor, you would think that that's what he would do. But
you would think, right? You would think, but it didn't happen. And, let me just say too, that now this isn't lung cancer, but by me leaving him and going to the other doctor and them sending me to a cardiologist, I ended up finding out that my carotid artery was more than 80% blocked, that my femoral artery was more than 80% blocked. And I had 2 more surgeries as a result of what he wasn't treating, right?
Jeez, like, I really hope this guy is watching. Like, please share this with him. Like, sir, you're failing as a doctor, just so you know.
Yeah, so I had 3 surgeries.
Wow.
Lung cancer, carotid artery, and femoral artery surgery in a matter of 2 years. In a matter of 2 years, I had 3 surgeries after leaving
Fireball. I love it. So, as a veteran, you obviously still have, I believe you still have access to like, veterans benefits and, all that kind of stuff, right? No,
let me tell you about that. Let me tell you about that. This is what's so hard. And I don't know what the statistic was. I should know, because I just did that media blitz with Dr. Moganaki out in LA with Lung Cancer Foundation of America. It's only a certain percentage. And I think he said about half. I think he said about half of the veterans have access to the VA healthcare. Mm-hmm. And the reason that I don't have I have 8 years service. The reason that I don't have access to it is because I'm not retired, number one. I'm not disabled, number 2. Number 3, my income level is too high to qualify for it. Now that makes me sound like I'm really well off. Well, I'm comfortable, but I'm not a rich woman. But my income threshold is over what would give me VA health benefits. So what I'm left with is having to, and this is a monstrous effort, I need to file for a VA. I need to file for a disability based upon the asbestos exposure, because when you have it doesn't matter that I have a smoking history. What matters is that they exposed me to asbestos, right?
Right.
So and that's the way it works. That's the way the whole process works. That doesn't matter. This matters. You did give me an exposure. And when you have the smoking history and the asbestos exposure together, that increases your risk for lung cancer 50 to 90 times. So it really significantly increased my chance for lung cancer, because my understanding is that only 20% of the people that have a smoking history end up with lung cancer. So then you take that and then you throw on top of that the asbestos.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the service toxic exposure that happened to me. So based on that, I have to go through the drill of saying, okay, now I need a disability. And once they give me a disability, then I will have access to the medical. And that process takes forever. That process gets the door shut in your face a bunch of times, and you have to just keep going back, right, and knocking on the door.
That's wild.
Like, it's wild. That's what I have to do. That's what I have to do, and that's what I plan on doing, and that's what I have started working on. Not because I'm ill at this moment, but as you and I both know, we can recur at any time, right?
Anytime.
Yeah, at any time. And I can't be filing the paperwork when I recur. I need to have the services available to me when already in place for if I recur. Yeah.
Gosh, you're such an informed patient. It's amazing. Most people would wait until they recur and be like, I'm trying to go through this process and I have this disease.
No, I can't wait to that point, right? I can't wait. When I was trying to do it myself, and I gathered up I did a lot of analyzing, and I gathered up all the paperwork, and I started to try to put together a package. And I just said, I'm really busy with my advocacy work, and this is a huge load too. And then I learned that there are places where that they will do the work for you. You just have to feed them the information, and they will do the work for you. And then everything comes through. Then they take a cut of the first, when it first comes through, they take a cut. And I'm like, fine, take the cut, because I'm not even after any money. I'm not after that. I'm after the health benefits if I recur. And it's not so much for treatment, because I have Medicare and Blue Cross and Blue Shield. It's for, what if I get to the point where I need home health or a nursing home or something like that. And regular insurances don't cover that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So if I ever get where I need care, physical care, then I would like to have that in place so that I'm set, right?
Yeah. And I just feel like, as a military veteran with a known exposure, you should have VA benefits regardless of disability qualifications. Like, we exposed you to asbestos. The least we could do is cover your health care for the rest of your time. But maybe I'm crazy. What do I know?
It doesn't work that way, though, right? It doesn't work that way. Yeah. So I got to go through the drill.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like I said, again, quintessential patient. You're advocating for yourself, and you're doing it early enough so that if something does happen, you'll be prepared in advance, which I think is amazing. A lot of folks wait until too late, or they wait till after the fact. And then it's like, you're already tapped mentally, emotionally, and for energy. And now you've got to fight the VA to prove you're disabled, or to prove that you have this disability or anything like that. It's like, you don't have enough gas in the tank for that at this point. Like, do it now while you got it.
And a lot of people don't even have enough gas to get in the tank to get through their normal appointments and stuff like that, and get their food and their rest and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yes. I just think I applaud you for being, in the mindset that you are, and I wish that more folks had that same advanced proactive mindset, instead of reactive, because lung cancer is such a scary disease to be reactive to. You really succeed a lot more when you're proactive. So kudos to you for that, for sure.
Thank you. Yeah. And it is a mentally heavy disease. It's a very mentally heavy disease.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to transition over to some of the advocacy work that you're doing. Because like I said, I got to meet you at the PAW conference, the patient advocate workshop with Lung Cancer Foundation of America,
which was amazing. Wasn't that an amazing workshop? Oh my god!
Except for the scorpion, and the tarantulas. I don't know. This time around, I couldn't focus. I was like, tarantulas everywhere. I was all over the place. But yeah. But no, I think overall, I've been that's my second time going to that conference. I missed last year because I had a new job and couldn't take the time off of work. And so I was really upset and disappointed, because I knew how impactful that was. But yeah, this year was really, really good, and I enjoyed it. And I got to meet some amazing people. I got to meet some folks for the first time in person who I had only met online, which was cool. So there was some, really cool connections there. But, as an advocate, we all kind of have our paths, our roads, our niches, stuff like that. So where do you find yourself to be most impactful as an advocate? And maybe you could talk about some of the organizations you're affiliated with and how you got aligned with them too.
Okay. Well, let me see. I'm going to refer to some notes here, because I'm involved with several organizations, and I'm doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
and I really love what I'm doing. Well, let me just say, first off, I'm affiliated with the White Ribbon Project, which was such an honor that Heidi and Pierre reached out to me. Gosh, it was about 6 months after my diagnosis, and they reached out to me and asked me to be part of their small group. And it was based on the fact that I had a smoking history and I wasn't shrouded in shame over it, right?
Yeah.
And I was able to talk about it, and I was able to appeal to people. To try to reach to get some empathy, right? For them to understand where I came from and the time frame that it was in. Because when I was born in the mid 50s, and it was a different time then, right? And the tobacco industry was at their height of doing what the dirty deeds that they did, right? And once you're addicted, and it's a very, very strong addiction. And if you suffer from any level of anxiety, like I did anyway, I have an anxiety-prone personality, and then you got an addiction. It's an incredibly difficult thing to walk away from. But anyway, so I had no shame about my history, and I was able to talk about it openly. And they liked that, and they introduced me to Jill Feldman, and with Jill Feldman, I was introduced to the American Cancer Society Lung Cancer Roundtable, and I ended up I was on a patient panel at the roundtable within just about a month after my surgery. So within just a couple of months of diagnosis, I was already on the national stage, right?
Wow.
Yeah, which was, I didn't, and it was really quick.
I told you.
and then I was also starting to do some things with the White Ribbon Project. So that was really big. That was right in my first few months, first 6 months. All of that was happening.
Yep.
So that was big. And then I got on the Lung Cancer Foundation of America's Breath of Honor, right? Because I was a veteran, and Jim introduced me, and I started working with them. And that most recently, I just did the. I flew to LA. I didn't even know when I agreed to this. I didn't even know when Mitch asked me to do this, and I didn't even pay attention to what he was saying. And then when I went back and read what he sent me, it was like a media blitz. And I'm like, oh, what is a media blitz? So I flew out to LA a little less than 2 weeks ago, and with Dr. Moganaki, who is the head of thoracic oncology at UCLA. I did 27 interviews around the country in a matter of it was like 3 or 4 hours. We did 27 interviews with different stations, different radio and TV stations. It's like, oh my goodness.
Just mentally like.
That's why I'm burning out this Lung Cancer Awareness Month, because that was big, right? That was
27 interviews is a lot in a year. You did 27 in 3 hours. Like
27, yeah.
I would be drained.
I was drained. So I do that. So that's big. That was big. And then I'm with longevity. I'm part of their early lung cancer. They call it Early Lung Cancer Center. That's the ELCC, and that's been a wonderful experience too. I'm one of they only have a couple of us patients there. I'm one of their patient voices. All the rest are medical and pharmaceutical and researchers. It's those type of professionals.
Yeah.
And so I'm the patient input there. I'm one of I think there's like this year there was 3 of us. There was 3 of us that were patients there. So I've done it 2 years in a row. We have meetings through the year, and then we have a conference that where we go. So I do that. And then with GoTo refers me out for speaker. Survivor speakers things all the time. Plus I do the Hope Summit, right? Yep. And then I've done the American Cancer Society Roundtable the last 2 years in a row. I've done presentations at those. So that's pretty much and I did, and American Lung Association contacted me last year for 2 things. They wanted me to be for their Advocacy Day and on the Hill. So I did that. And I also did GoTo's Advocacy Day the last 2 years in a row. So that's pretty much that's kind of that, and some speaking, some survivor speaking things at pharmaceuticals and stuff like that. That's pretty much what I do.
We got a question in the chat here that's a really good one that a couple of folks want to know. So Team Ruby reached out and says, does she get paid for some of her advocacy? So are any of these,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, are any of these paid, promotional gigs, if you will?
There's been 2 of the pharmaceutical ones that that have given like $200. But all the rest of this stuff, there's no pay associated with it.
And how do you feel about that? Because that's a good conversation that we've had before. Like I've had on other platforms and stuff like that about advocates getting paid for their time and their voices that we're lending to these causes and stuff like that.
Well, all of the places that I've done it are all nonprofits, right? So I'm okay with it. There are times that like if I have too close, like they cover my parking and they cover my plane and they cover my food and my hotel and all that sort of stuff. They don't cover my dog sitter, right?
Yeah. You hear that, advocacy orgs? We need some dog sitting money. We need some Rover money.
Yeah, I mean, that can start to get expensive, right?
It is expensive.
It can start to get expensive, and it can wear you out. And there's been times that I've had to pay for my own parking, so it can get expensive, and it can wear you down after a while too. This month in particular, because it's been a very busy, with good news, bad news, very busy lung cancer awareness month. We just seem to have hit it and just started running, and it's shocking how fast it's been this month. So I struggle a lot with when to say no and I don't say no very well when it comes to lung cancer advocacy. I don't say no very well, and so that balance, right?
Yeah.
That balance.
There's always a conversation that we have, because a lot of these, events and things that, if you have retirement income and stuff like that, then you probably have a little bit more wiggle room because you're not working. But for those folks that are still doing a 9 to 5, you've got to take time off of work. Sometimes that time is unpaid. You've got to travel. There's a lot of disruption to your life just to, travel out to some of these engagement, and advocacy groups. And then it's like they're taking your likeness, they're taking your face, they're taking your picture, they're plastering it around, the country and stuff like that. Like my likeness has been to Barcelona. I've never been to Barcelona, so it's interesting, because there is definitely conversation to be had about how do you compensate advocates for their time when they're taking time away from work and home and family to help you with your cause. And like on some level, yes, us sharing our stories and advocating, I don't want to say it's thankless, it's definitely one of those, I don't know what the words I'm looking for are, but it's one of those things where like, yeah, it has to get done. And if you don't get done, it's bad for the greater good. So it's like one of those things, you know what I mean? But there should definitely be some kind of consideration for that, because I think a lot of advocates like yourself want to do some of these things, but it's like you can't afford to go to the Hope Summit and then this summit behind it and then that if they're not covering at least your travel and accommodations. It's like I take off work and pay for all these things. It's like, and on top of paying for having cancer, it can be a lot. Financially, cancer is expensive no matter how good insurance you have. So
well, and it's a lot even beyond that. It's the strain that you put on yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's the once you have lung cancer, and maybe people reach this state of awareness even without lung cancer, but definitely for me, once I had lung cancer, my mortality was definitely in the front of my face, right? Mm-hmm. And I turned 70 this year, so I know that time is running, right? Time is running. I retired in 2017. Well, what is that? That's 8 years already. 8 years already since I retired. Boom, like that. And I'm 70. Well, if the next 8 years go like that, I'll be 78, right?
Let's hope they don't go that fast.
They go fast, right? They go fast. Yeah. They go fast, and it's our precious life. That's our precious life, and us choosing how we want to spend it, right? How we want to spend our life. Yeah. So it's more than it's so many levels, right? I don't have to worry about taking time off from work because I am retired. I can only imagine how hard it is for people that are still working, and like you say, and juggling that. I'm retired, so my time is my own. but exactly right. My time is my own. I'm a hiker. I'm a grandmother. I mean, I have a conversion van that I like to go off adventuring in. I have, there's just so many things that I want to do while I'm still able to do it. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So one more question in the chat here. And, this is something we all kind of struggle with. And Sydney and I were talking about this on my episode before this, about stretching yourself too thin with all the different organizations. Because there's like a dozen different organizations you can be involved with. And like all of us are involved with all of them, like they all know our names. So it's like they ping us for the things they need to ping us for. And we stretch ourselves thin across the board, trying to accommodate everybody who reaches out for some kind of soundbite, snapshot, speaking engagement, whatever. But Veronica Conway checks in and says, how does she feel about having to spread herself around to all of the different lung cancer organizations? Is there one that you maybe align with more? Or is there like, I guess, how does that work for you in terms of, like you said, learning how to say no to things? Like, what does that look like too?
It is rough. I mean, my first loyalty is to the White Ribbon Project. That's my first loyalty, right? Yeah. And then the rest. I mean, I probably have an equal amount of loyalty to the rest. But yeah, the one that I have the most loyal to is the White Ribbon Project.
Yeah, I think we all kind of have that one org that is like the top org that's like, no, this is the one I really like. If you call me, I'm gonna come running. Like we all have that one org, you know what I mean, that aligns with us for whatever reason, or we align with for whatever reason. And that's just how it has to be. It's not that you don't support the other organizations. Right. We all do. But, like it's the burnout. It's the patient advocate burnout that we all have to worry and watch out for. So while you find that one organization or maybe two organizations that you really, truly love and speak to your soul and speak to your passion, the rest of them, you try to do your best to attend when you can and show up and show face and support. But you don't lose too much sleep if you can't make it, because you realize like you've got to prioritize your mental health and well-being too, but you've also got the 2 or the 3 or however many that you have that you're truly aligned with. So I think it's like an understood practice in the lung cancer community, probably other communities too, I'm sure, but it's an understood practice in the lung cancer community that you pick 1 or 2 that you really rock with, and you rock with them. And the rest of them, if you can show up, then you show up where you can.
Right.
But I think, I do want to talk real quick about the White Ribbon Project, because like it's crazy to think that this wasn't always a thing. Like the White Ribbon Project has just like, it's not just started, but I mean,
it's not that old though either. It's not that
old. And I mean, look in your background. Right in your background is the White Ribbon. There's one on my wall right here. Y'all can't see it because my computer's not facing that way, but there's one right here, I promise. And like we all have these white ribbons, and it's crazy how they have literally become like, I mean, obviously the white ribbon is the symbol for lung cancer, but they've become our symbol. And it's like, what did we do before we had these big old white ribbons to carry around? Like, how did we do this? It's just so interesting to think about. So shout out to Heidi and Pierre for starting this movement and all the advocates that really keep it moving and running. Cause like we all snowballed this thing into the huge figurehead that it now is in the lung cancer community. Like I told you, I got one. Like, it's handy. It's right here.
Well, and it's their mission too. That their mission they're selfless. It's amazing how much they do. But their mission is to change the public perception of lung cancer.
Yeah. Right. And they sign every one of these.
That's the stamping out of the stigma, right? We've got to stamp out that stigma and to unite us as a community, because we're all in this together, right? We're all in this together. So absolutely. They have started an amazing movement, an international movement, right?
Yeah, it's global. Like it is literally this is lung cancer. When you think lung cancer, you think the big white ribbon. Like and that's so crazy to just think that it's not. I don't even think it's 10 years old yet. I don't.
No, I think it started in I want to say 2020. I think it was when it started. I think Heidi was diagnosed in 2018, and I think it was 2020 when it became an official organization. Right,
and it's just like it's just crazy how it's just taken over and become like the symbol for this entire disease. And I think we all rally behind this white ribbon, and I love it. Like I love that it exists.
Yes.
So you are wearing something that I want to talk about.
I love that you want to talk about that.
Yes. I have one. I've got 2 actually. I definitely want to shout you out for that. So go ahead and talk about that wonderful.
I wish it wasn't backwards, but this says
no, it's good.
Lungs. And then in parentheses down here, it says, then you can get lung cancer.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand is that, and that's what part of my platform is that I come in talking of my smoking history, but then I talk about how crushed I was when I walked into the community and met all the people that were in their 20s, 30s, and 40s that had no known risk factors, that were diagnosed at stage 3 and stage 4 because they didn't have a screening test available to them. Yep. I was the lucky one because I had a smoking history. I was screened and I was diagnosed at stage 1. So that's what this shirt is screaming about. If you've got lungs, then you can get lung cancer. And it's even more important for you to advocate for yourself if you have something going on that isn't normal. You know your body best, right? Yep. So the way this shirt started was Heidi and Pierre were at a pharmaceutical for an event. And that pharmaceutical had these T-shirts that just said got lungs on them, nothing else. And I think it said the pharmaceutical name on the sleeve or something like that. Mm-hmm. Nothing else. And I saw that T-shirt and I went, oh, I like that. I like that T-shirt. I need to put, then you can get lung cancer underneath it. Yes. And so then in our monthly meetings, we were talking and I said, well, we can design T-shirts that we could make available. Right. So then we brainstormed the back and we've got all this stuff on the back.
Hey.
You know, yeah. Our big billboard on the back that we flashed to the world, right? The simple message on the front. And so then I went around and I looked at all these different T-shirts platforms online, and I settled on that Bonfire was the best one, and that's what we decided we would go with. And so then I went in and I designed several products, you know, black versions, you know, different pastels and some darker colors and some this women's T-shirt and unisex T-shirts and hoodies and sweatshirts, and I'm going to add more products to the store, but it's a Bonfire store. It's the White Ribbon Project Bonfire store. And we have these available. So that was a big deal. We haven't had these for that long. And you know what? I just grin from ear to ear when I'm like on Facebook and I'm seeing the pictures pop up everywhere and I'm seeing these T-shirts everywhere. They're exploding just like the ribbon exploded, right? The T-shirts are exploding everywhere. And then, you know, to add on to this, I did another thing just recently here that's just making me smile from ear to ear on Facebook. You know, every time there's a new event like World Lung Cancer Day or Lung Cancer Awareness Month or whatever, everybody wants a frame for their profile pic, right? Yep. Well, when we did World Lung Cancer Day, I want to tell you, I mean, I was so exhausted from one by one creating those pictures and putting them back. It was like, this is ridiculous. We've got to automate this, right?
You're manually making everybody's profile.
Manually making everybody's. It was crazy. It was crazy. So my son is in IT too. So he does development work, and you know I can do some graphics work. Painfully slow, but I can do some graphics work. So my son developed a web app, and I developed the different frames. And then we put the two together. He also developed me an app to behind the scenes administration app that I could load new frames up there. So now we just provide the URL to people and they can take their own picture. They can pick their own frame. They can load it in there and they've got it. And we didn't have to build a stinking one frame for Lung Cancer Awareness Month. That app was able to do it all for them.
Yeah, so, I'll tell you what, when that came out, I was like, "Ooh, thank you, Lord," because I was trying to figure out on Canva, how do I do this? Like,
it's miserable. It's miserable.
Yeah. I was like, thank you for making it so much easier. I was like, here's my picture, throw it in the middle. I was like, and put the green one. Like, it's so much easier when you have that. And honestly, it just adds to the awareness of it all. I mean, I know we've said awareness probably 18 million times, but that really is what it is because we continue to share facts about lung cancer and people are like, oh, I did not know that. And it's like, how we've been sharing this for so long.
Yeah, and when I update my new profile picture with a new frame, a lot of times I'll put a whole bunch of a narrative about the lung cancer awareness facts there, right? Yeah. So yeah, it's so the T-shirts and the frames, the frame automation were both things that I've been able to do that I'm like so excited about. Yeah,
you're awesome. You see, guys, why I wanted her to be on the show. Like, she's amazing. I was like, she's got to be on the show. So of course you're gonna have to drop that link because I've already got people in the chat asking where they can buy T-shirts.
Oh, so, you want me to do it right now?
You can.
Oh, you want me to do it in the YouTube page afterwards?
Send it to me on Facebook and I'll put it on both. I
Okay.
don't want you to
Okay. That's what I
navigate
will
away
do.
from
That's
this
what I will do.
and drop off or anything crazy. Like technology is sketchy sometimes. So
Yes.
we'll get you guys the link so you can order the shirts and stuff like that.
Yes. And if you want,
Um,
if you really want to not wait, if you just Google the White Ribbon Project Bonfire, that's all you
there you
need
go.
to do. The White Ribbon Project Bonfire, Bonfire, and you will find the page.
Yep. Yep. So I got oh man, my headshot that I got from the paw conference has that shirt on. It's so good. It's so good. I was like, oh yes. That shirt is amazing. It's like I got the navy blue one and I'm like, yes, like it's
Yes.
perfect.
Yes. Yes. I have a white, I have a navy blue, I have a
You
black.
probably have every color, I'm sure.
I need a hoodie though. That's what every time I see
I do
Heidi
too.
wear her hoodie, I'm like, I have got to have that hoodie.
Yeah, I definitely need a hoodie too. I've got the Anyone with Lungs sweatshirt from Longevity, so now I got to go back to your site and get the hoodie for that too, because that's the only one that I'm missing right now.
Yeah. Well, there's a sweatshirt and a hoodie, but I want the hoodie.
Yeah, I want the.
Yeah,
I need the hoodie in the pocket.
yes, I want that.
So we're getting close to the end of the show here. The one thing I want to do is make sure that folks can connect with you so that if they want to continue to follow your journey, purchase the shirts from you, stuff like that. So where can people connect with you on social media, email, or what have you? Why don't you shout out your contact information?
Well, let me just say I'm retired, and so email and me have kind of had a divorce. It's a friendly one though, so I check it every once in a while, but I'm not reliable when it comes to email. The best way to get me is, if you have my phone number, is to text me or to Facebook message me. I'm most active. My social media platform I'm most active on is Facebook. And I would say, and I have accounts everywhere. I have on all the social media platforms. I don't just check in on them all the time, or I don't necessarily post on them.
Yeah.
My handle, is that what we call it? I guess it's Donnita Mae, which is 2 N's, Donnita Mae. I'm Donnita Mae all over the web. Yeah, that's you can find me on Blue Sky, Twitter, Instagram. Yeah, all of them. I'm Donnita Mae. But Facebook is where I'm active, and my Facebook is, and I'm. This is where I reclaim myself, right? Because all my advocacy, I'm a lung cancer survivor, right? But I'm so much more than a lung cancer survivor.
Right? I wish I had you on big screen for that. Darn it. That was a good soundbite. Say it again.
I am so much more than a lung cancer survivor. So my Facebook is not a steady stream of lung cancer awareness stuff. It's sprinkled in there. But there's my hiking, there's my mountains, there's my conversion van, there's my grandchildren. There might be some mental health stuff there too, because sometimes I get on a thing and I'll talk about my mental health. So my Facebook page has a lot of different things. Lately, I probably pretty much since my lung cancer diagnosis, I've been making more and more of my posts available to everyone rather than keeping them shut down. Yeah. Because I'm like, why not? Right?
Yeah,
why not?
Definitely. I think we all kind of walk that line of like, we are more than just our diagnosis. I constantly say that to people all the time, which is why my Facebook page is all over the place. Like, please don't go to my page thinking you're going to find all lung cancer in a nice, easy to read, wrapped up in a nice little bow. You're going to have to dig for it. And it's going to be sneakers in there. There's going to be funny random TikToks in there. There's going to be funny husband videos in there. Like, I am all over the place with it because the same way I live my life, like my Facebook is how I live my life. I'm not just one thing. I'm a couple of crazy things all merged together into one silly person. So, I tried to do the full advocacy page on TikTok, and it's like that one just has so much less attention because it's like I got my TikTok page and then I have my TikTok advocacy page, and that page is like wah wah wah, and all I have to do is literally share from the one TikTok page to the other, and even that just doesn't happen. So, listen, Jamie's a package deal. If you want lung cancer, you're gonna have to have the rest of me too. So
exactly, because you know what, we aren't just lung cancer, right? We aren't just lung cancer, right? And we are probably even more vibrant post lung cancer because we've realized how precious our life is, right? So yeah, we're very busy.
Absolutely. Well, listen, is there anything else you want to share with the audience before I let you go and have back the rest
No,
of your
no.
evening?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. And thank you for making it so easy for me to get on here and share and feel comfortable. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you
And
for
it was
being
so
here.
wonderful meeting you. And then we ran into each other down on the mall when we were putting the flags up.
You're the reason I came out of there. You know that I came out there because I saw your post on Facebook and you were like, hey, if you're in the DC area, come help us put these 60,000 flags out. And I was like,
Yeah, just
well,
60,000 flags.
yeah, 60,000 flags, no big deal. I was like, I don't have anything to do today on Saturday. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go down to DC and put some flags out. And it was like the November 1st. It was like the start of Lung Cancer Awareness Month. And I was like, sounds like a great way to start my month. And it was a beautiful day. And I was like, got to go find my girl and say hello. And, and that was it. So, yeah.
And it was a really good experience too. It was really good to interact with strangers that were walking by, wondering what it was all about, and to see the awareness just growing. It was a really good thing.
It was. I really enjoyed myself. I think it might be down now. I think they may have taken it down as of today. So, yeah. But I mean, it was great to be a part of it. And it was great to see it once it was all said and done. It was really breathtaking to look at it, like with all 60,000. I'm like, that's wow. Yeah. You know, so it was really impactful. And I hope a lot of the people that walked by actually read the signs and didn't just take the pictures in front of it and be like, this is cool, and then keep it moving. Like, I hope they actually engaged with the installation. And
yeah, I hope. After, I have to tell you this funny thing, after the Breathe Deep event, the weekend afterwards with longevity, before I packed up and went home, I decided to walk down there and see the flags one last time because I knew it would be my last chance to see them.
Yeah.
So I went down there and there was a woman there with her husband and she had just gotten a little Yorkie puppy and the puppy was about this big, right? And that's all she could focus on was putting the puppy in with the flags, getting pictures.
Like, okay, I guess, sure. Why not?
The puppy's cute. The puppy's cute.
Right. If the puppy brings some awareness,
it was funny. It was funny.
All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you so much for being with me tonight. I thank everybody who tuned in and listened and engaged. You guys were really great in the comment section. Definitely appreciate all of that. I'll make sure I put her contact information in the comments too, and where to get the t-shirts so you guys can follow up. I'm going to be back again with another episode of Voices That Heal and an Advocates in Action. So if you know somebody or you are somebody that wants to be on either of those two platforms, message me, let me know. My social media is Jamie Jam on Facebook. It's Just Jams on TikTok, and just_jams on Instagram. So, or just look up Jamie Knox on Google and I probably will pop up somewhere on some platform and you can engage with me there and I will get you whatever information you need. But definitely thank everybody for tuning in tonight, for sticking with us through the whole episode. Again, Lung Cancer Awareness Month. If you're able to get screened, please take this opportunity to go and set yourself up for a low-dose CT and get screened for lung cancer, or take somebody who you know needs to be screened for lung cancer. And again, just thank you everybody for being here, and I'll be back next week with another new episode.
Thank you. Bye. Night.